Now this is a breakdown of the world's deadliest waves based on statistics. So these are breaks that have either killed lots of people and injured dozens more. Now, we don't see much of ghost trees anymore, mostly because the wave is located in a marine sanctuary and jet skis are actually banned there, so people can't really tow it. But, you know, we used to see it quite a lot back in the day, just this horrifying big wave bomby right-hander. Looked absolutely horrible. It's a wave I want absolutely nothing to do with ever. You know, works on big winter swells. It's also a super dangerous and deadly wave, you know. It breaks in front of loads of rocks that you can get washed into, and yeah, just looks like a really spooky wave. The death toll for ghost trees is at 1, with Peter Davey having drowned in huge surf in 2007. You know, this is a break that needs no introduction. Just the sheer size of the waves and that amount of water moving around is just a recipe for disaster, really. You know, there's obviously a really good safety team there at Nazare now that makes sure people are okay when these swells happen and people want to ride these waves. But even so, the risk factor here is extremely high. There's been one confirmed big wave fatality at Nazare. Brazilian big wave surfer Marcio Freire in 2023 during a tow session. You know, there's also been dozens of near drownings. Maya Gabriel broke her ankle out there, almost drowned. Dozens of other crazy incidents of people getting washed into rocks and just terrifying stories. It's just absolutely mental. But yeah, so far the actual death toll is pretty low for how dangerous the actual wave is. Now this one might come as a surprise on the list, but I think because it's so accessible and it's surfed more regularly, it's actually dished out so many injuries and even deaths over the years that, you know, it's still a very deadly wave, even though, you know, it doesn't really compare to these other waves we've discussed on this list. In terms of documented deaths, I found online there to be one, which was Monty Valentin in 2009, who died at the wedge after actually getting thrown into the jetty. There have also been dozens of paralysis cases. If you surf the wedge or you surf it regularly, let me know what it's actually like. I feel like it looks like a fun sort of like mess around sort of wave, but you know, at the same time, it is freaking dangerous. So Chopu is a mutant below sea level slab breaking over razor sharp live coral. It's just a savagely heavy wave, so square, so shallow. You know, those West Bowl ones just look insane. Obviously a deadly wave in itself. It gets crowded as well, which makes it very intense. And the official death toll is at 1, with Bryce Tarrier in 2007, who broke his cervical vertebrae after being thrown into the reef. There's been a ton of gnarly injuries out there as well. My friend Tom has almost died out there twice. There's that famous one of Makua Rothman where his whole lip basically gets cut on the reef and like folds out. He said he went to cover his mouth and just felt gums and teeth and there was no skin there. The iconic Waimea has claimed lives since it was first surfed. One of the breaks that actually gave birth to the art of big wave surfing. Big, powerful, solid right-hander with a ferocious inside shore break. It's, yeah, a terrifying wave when those big swells hit the North Shore during winter, like the eddy swells, those kind of things. We've all seen the kind of waves that get ridden out there, so it's no surprise how deadly the wave is. There's been at least one well-documented big wave fatality, including Donnie Sullivan in 1995, with earlier tragedies including legendary cases like Dickie Cross's 1943 disappearance during a North Shore traverse. You know, this was a session they were surfing up the coast, and because the waves are so big they couldn't actually get in, so they had to paddle down to Waimea, and because that was the only place that had enough of a channel on the North Shore to actually get back in, and unfortunately went missing during this traverse. Next up is Mavericks, and again, iconic big wave spot. You know, located in Northern California, it's one of the heaviest, most iconic big wave spots on Earth. Dark, brown, sharky water, massive waves. You know, it's a serious wave. Everything about it just sounds terrifying. You know, the discovery of Mavericks, iconic story of Jeff Clark, you know, paddling out and surfing it alone for 15 years, which is absolute madness. Obviously, you know, discovering a break, you want to kind of keep it secret, but I think for something like that, I would have told people just so I had someone to surf with, so I can't even imagine like surfing that alone for so long. It's also obviously a break that's taken a few lives over the years, including some iconic big wave surfers. Mark Fu in 1994 is probably the most famous, and Sion Milosky in 2011. Two of the best big wave riders on earth, you know, were taken by Mavericks, which just shows how gnarly it is. Known as the Mexican Pipeline, this is a wave that needs no introduction. Now, obviously, this wave is so heavy. I've never seen somewhere where waves come in so vertically and throw out so far, you know, even on a small head high day. I'm not speaking from experience on a big day, but even on those small days, it's so heavy and the waves coming more vertical than anywhere else I've ever seen. On bigger days, I can only imagine what it's like to actually be out there, even sitting on the beach. You're just in disbelief at how powerful and how much energy those waves have and how they can still throw out that far at that size. It's unbelievable. One day at Zicatello, it's like 15, 20 foot. I didn't go in, obviously. I was like very comfortable on the beach that day. But I think I got beer and sat and watched it for a while, and I watched this one guy jumped in this massive like rip. Took him about 20 minutes to paddle out. He was just getting pounded, waves just kept breaking on him. He just gets so rolled, like washed off his board, kept paddling out. Eventually he made it out. It took him like, it was probably like a half an hour ordeal. And eventually he got this mental like right corner that he just pulled into, disappeared, and just got spat out of this like 15-foot drainer. He reappeared on the other side of the rip that he'd just paddled out in, and literally like 30 seconds later, a left came to him on the other side of the rip. He took off on that, butt dragged into it, and just did the same thing but going left. And it was probably the two best waves I've ever seen. Like, it's just unbelievable that it was like back to back like that. So yeah, it's so insane. I think the reason Zicatello is so deadly is because, you know, it's obviously so powerful and so heavy and shallow, but once you wipe out there, it keeps you in the impact zone. So when it's really big, it just keeps you stuck right where the waves are breaking. You know, it doesn't push you back to the beach, it almost sucks you back into the impact zone. Dished out some serious beatdowns and injuries over the years, and it's a very deadly, serious wave. Finally, we've got Pipeline. You know, it's not just a very heavy, powerful, scary wave. It's got a shallow reef, it's got caves in the reef. The reef is basically made of concrete. You know, the crowd is next level, which I guess can push people deeper than they want to be and go on like the less perfect waves because they're just hungry to get one. And then finally, it's not perfect. Depending on the sand movement adjacent to the reef, it can cause closeouts, backwash, and therefore just make it deadlier. So looking at the numbers, way higher death toll than any other wave on Earth, I think, just because obviously it's a dangerous wave and so many people surf it so regularly. Some high profile deaths have been Malik Joyu in 2005, John Mozo 2005 as well. And then there have been several high profile injuries even in the last few years. You know, even John John's broken his back out there, Owen Wright's gnarly head injury, Collab Grace last year. You know, it's a serious wave and people can get hurt out there so easily. So yeah, Pipeline, the deadliest wave on Earth. Obviously there's probably loads of lesser known waves that are technically deadlier, but you know, obviously don't want to mention them here, and also that are just lesser surfed, so the numbers don't reflect it accurately. Let me know of any experiences if you've surfed any of these waves. For now, it's goodbye from me, and I'll see you in the next episode.